All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man, Jay. Yes, 7 years ago, 7 years ago, um, a little bit before 7 years ago, before this device launched, I started, going to meetings about it and checking it out and seeing what it was about. And I was thrilled. I was more than pleased to be one of the first people to see this device before it even hit the market. Take a sip of your coffee if you haven't already done so. It is Throwback. Today is Throwback Thursday, and it is May 23rd, 2024. And this is the ZTE Axon M. Now, some devices, they're just good, they're ahead of their time, or they're ahead of their time and they're lacking certain areas, but some devices are just pretty sleek. So this device has a long history of controversy, but we're not going to talk about that. We're here in 2024, and I still have one of these that I frequently pull out the box and use it for a few days and put it back in the box. And then I have some that are brand new sealed. They're just collector's items. I have a ton of devices from back in the day that are brand new sealed. Not trying to get money off of them, not trying to sell them, just want to collect them, and it's a memory. Someday somebody else will go through it and open it up and say, whoa, this thing is from 100 years ago, and they'll get the reward for it. But for now, this is a device that has two 5.2-inch displays coming in at 1080 by 1920, and it is a great form factor. It has a 20 megapixel camera on the front that shoots 4K, and the back front, whatever, if you want to say it like that. 4 gigs of RAM, the Snapdragon 821, a very controversial processor again, but we won't tackle that. This thing was pretty good. 18-watt charging. That was kind of a letdown, but it was good seven years ago. And then a 3,180 milliamp hour battery inside this thing. So those were things that, made this stand out. This is before my, where's my beautiful, this hinge is before hinges like this. This Surface Duo has one of the best hinges ever, but this hinge right here is, if you've ever experienced this hinge, this hinge is solid. And when you open this device up, you can see here there's a thinner display, and then basically the phone is on that side. So if you flip it over here, you can see this is how it looks. I think this was like the perfect size for a device. It's just that they flipped it in the other direction, so people had concerns about the screen getting cracked. And I get it. They're right. Those people are not wrong about that. I put protectors on here, and I believe back in the day, this thing came with a protector in the box, I believe, or some kind of case or frame or something. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at some of my older videos, but I got to tell you, this device has dual stereo speakers, 32-bit audio. That's 384 kilohertz of audio. I mean, we're talking about 7 years ago. So it has Type-C, Bluetooth 4.2. There's things in here that make it really good. And then you have this side-mounted fingerprint reader that was actually pretty good. You got your SIM tray over here. You got a button there for your camera button, dedicated camera button. This is that button this is that button you can program, because this was through AT&T. Yeah, this is that TV button. And you got your fingerprint and power button that doubles there. That was another thing that I didn't like about this phone, the way it launched. And I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Back then, when I sat in those meetings, and look at that headphone jack. Back then, when I sat in those meetings about this phone before it launched, I begged them. I said, man, don't release this on AT&T for $800. It's not going to work. Everybody in the world does not have AT&T. And they said, nope. They said, who is this guy? Why'd y'all bring him in here? And they kind of took us in separate rooms and asked us questions with some of the higher ups. Like, I met the CEO and everything, and I met the person who was launching this phone. And it was kind of strange because both sides were in there. There were people in there that didn't speak any English, and they were the real heroes in that situation, because they were like the ones that are taking it all in. Nothing against the CEO at the time, but he was just like brushing me off. He was like, who is this guy? Because at the time they were like, man, this is Jay. He's a very strong advocate. He knows what, this is what they were telling him. And I was like sitting there humbly. I was like, yeah, and I told that guy, look into his face. I said, not the people from overseas that actually came over to help watch. the CEO of AT&T at the time. I said, don't release this phone just on AT&T. He sat in too. And I told somebody else at ZTE at that time, I think it was the CEO of ZTE is in there too. I said, don't release this phone on AT&T for $800. Put it on some other carriers, subsidize it. You will sell millions of them. They didn't listen. And I think not just me, tons of other people that got invited to that exclusive meeting, we told them, we said, you shouldn't do this. This is a good phone. Lower the price. It's not packing these super specs at the time compared to some other phones that were out. You just go back 7 years and look at some of the phones that were out. And this is also a folding phone. So it had a lot going in. They just didn't listen to us, man. So unfortunately, it launched on AT&T only, and it failed. There was an abundance of stock. That's why there's so many of these. There was so many of these floating around, and people started to sell them for $150. And I ended up buying this one for $150. And then, through some talks with some people, I was able to grab some more sealed, and I just put those away. But with all that said, this phone was ahead of its time. The folding design here wasn't bad. I mean, it's a small, compact phone. Let me get something. Here's the iPhone 15 Pro. Just look at that. It's ultimately the same size as the iPhone 15 Pro. It's just boxy. Rounded boxy. Square boxy. Round square. Yeah. It's ultimately the same size. And they dropped the ball. And I let it fall. I still promoted this phone and bought my own and got after it because I really believed that it was a good phone. The software was a little sluggish, but that was because of the processor inside. We were asked a ton of questions before this phone released. And we told them, it was like, this is what you should do. This is what you should do. And this is what you should do. This M mode down here was clutch, man. You could do two things at the same time, which is ultimately what we're experiencing right now. That's all we're experiencing right now. You can shut off this side completely. I mean, it was just a phone that had so much potential. And, the powers that be, the people with the quote unquote money producing and the people behind it, they get the final say so. Yeah, they blew it. They blew it. Bad marketing, only going to one carrier. It just wasn't, pardon my sniffles. I'm under the weather for a little bit today for some reason, just some sniffles. I took some medicine and, I'm going to chill for the rest of the day, but I am sniffly. So if you're offended by my sniffles, keep it pushing. But yeah, man, I used this phone for quite a bit of time actually back in the day. And even when I bought it for $150 again, it kind of, the word spread or whatever. And, more creators started to give it a chance. Shout out to my man, Eric. He was one of the people, I think he went back and grabbed it for $100 too. He wore this thing out, man. He did gaming and all this stuff at the same time. He put in work. And, he did. He solidified it and confirmed everything I said about this phone years later. That's all it is. Eric, if you're watching, I'm gonna need you to confirm that you do like this phone. Now you got people out there like Forbes Tech. Shout out to my man Forbes Tech. For some reason, he hates this phone, but he never even really used it. So he's just one of those people who's envious of it. Shout out to Forbes Tech. Everybody give Forbes Tech a shout out. He really wanted to try this phone, but for some reason, he just was afraid to. I don't know. But what I can tell you is, on all fun aside, I'm just messing with these people, but I think if you were able to experience this phone, and especially if you paid the full cost for it back in the day, you probably liked it. You probably just got tired of people saying it wasn't worth it if you were listening to them. And if you got it for the $100 years later, you genuinely loved it. And if you still have it right now, I want you to put an M in the comments and then tell me the condition of yours and what you think about it in 2024. This is a short throwback video for you guys, man. Shout out to all the creators out there, the actual creators who created with this device and gave it a chance and really try to dig into all tech, whether it's good or bad. If something's not good, I'll tell you. This phone right here, back in the day, was ahead of its time, but it was missing some key elements. And it just was launched wrong. That's all it was. It was launched wrong in every way. I will be holding on to mine. I will not be getting rid of this phone. You can see that fingerprint reader. The camera is actually really nice on here too. So get this little, yeah, that is really nice. Let me take a photo or something real quick here. Not the fastest shutter time for sure, but it definitely needed some work. And this doesn't bother me right here. I mean, we're talking about 7-year-old phone with an old processor, 4 gigs of RAM, all of which probably 2 is available, 64 gigs of storage. This is, come on. But you know what, though, to be fair, there's things launching today from certain companies that still have 64 gigs of storage. Come on. No, all jokes aside, this is a decent camera. You know, I don't have any quarrels with this phone. I'll whip this phone out and use it current day. If I needed to, I will whip it out and use it current day. But I don't. I have so many phones. I can do these throwbacks and enjoy them. And it's hard to believe this phone launched 7 years ago. And I was at the event 8 years ago. I saw it prior to releasing. And it was just a cool thing to be at, man. It was cool to experience all these different things. And this phone right here, still in pristine condition, obviously, because I keep it in the box when I'm not messing around with it. And I don't plan on it's still charged to 100%. I let it sit overnight from 100%. It's been sitting for the last day and a half, and it's only dropped 7%. There's not a lot of phones that can do that. But I appreciate you guys joining me for another throwback, man. This joint is fire. You can't deny that this phone was ahead of its time. It just needed the right push to the right audience. It's your man, Jay. Hope you guys enjoy. Eric, I want you to shout it out in the comments, son, because I saw you do it. You was doing a whole bunch of stuff with this phone like I was and shutting up those naysayers, man. You were shutting them up years later. And yeah, I think Eric was kind of on the fence about it at the beginning when we started pushing this phone and talking about it. But eventually when it hit $100, he was like, nah, I'm gonna get this. And lo and behold, look what happened. I don't think it had anything to do with the $100 price tag that made people like it. I just think people finally saw the potential because they could actually get one and they were comfortable getting it. Is that a fair statement? It's your man Jay, Throwback Thursday, Axon M. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.